And the attack in Boulder is the latest in a string of violent incidents targeting Jewish communities in the U.S. Now law enforcement is stepping up security at synagogues and Jewish centers nationwide. Ted Deutsch is the CEO of the American Jewish Committee, a global advocacy organization for Jewish people, and is joining me now for a little bit more on this. Ted, thanks for coming on. I'm sure you're busy, and I know it's a tough day. But you put out a statement about this attack, calling this hatred, quoting here, a dangerous poison. So what's the antidote?
Well, the antidote is, first of all, for everyone to acknowledge that this is a poison, that this isn't just a series of random attacks. And we have to acknowledge that the incitement that we've seen from the language being used, the lies about genocide, the calls for ending, for globalizing the Intifada, resistance by any means necessary, all of this language contributes to an environment in which violence will, and now sadly twice in less than 2 weeks, has taken place. Everyone in a position of leadership has to say, we're not going to tolerate this kind of language. We will call it out. We will condemn it every single time. And the last thing I think we have to acknowledge here is that this flamethrower yesterday, the shooter in Washington just less than 2 weeks ago who killed 2 people there, they've been hearing all of this language. What happened on October 7th, 2023 in Israel is that 1,200 people were killed and 250 were taken hostage. The people were murdered. They were burned. It was the most horrific crime to Jews since the Holocaust. Now, people in the United States are picking up that mantle. They're doing exactly the same thing here. These are not isolated incidents. This is a war against people who support Israel. It's a war against the Jewish people, and nobody should tolerate it.
What's your message to Jews who might be worried about their safety right now?
Well, the amazing thing about the Jewish community is throughout our history, we have always been resilient. We've faced enormous challenges time after time in country after country, and have nevertheless risen above them, made enormous contributions to every community in which we've ever lived. The Jews are resilient, and that's what's happening here. These victims yesterday who were out actually protesting in support of the hostages, 58 hostages who have been held by Hamas terrorists for over 600 days, that they need to come home. These protests are going to continue because the hostages should be released. Jews are going to continue to gather to celebrate holidays. They're going to continue to gather as a group. And the rest of our friends and allies around the country have to realize that there should be no group in America that is afraid or that becomes a target just by coming together. That's what we all have to fight. And again, we have to do it together. The Jewish community can't do this on our own. We'll be strong and resilient. We need strong and resilient friends and allies standing with us.
And you talked about growing unacceptable language around all of this. Israel is stepping up its offensive in Gaza right now. There's a growing hunger crisis there. Do you see room to voice opposition to that without inciting the kind of violence that we're seeing?
People have the right to criticize what the Israeli government or any other government around the world, including and especially our own government, does, whatever those policies are. But what can't be taken as acceptable is when lies are spread on a constant basis. The lies about genocide, 1.8 million tons of aid has gone into Gaza. This dangerous lie of genocide is meant to create the kind of atmosphere that leads to this violence. The lies about Israel, the bitter, bitter denunciation of Israel's right to exist as a country, that's what's different. That's not acceptable. And what we've seen, we saw it yesterday in Boulder, we saw it 10 days, 11 days ago in Washington, D.C., is these terrorists using the same language as the actual terrorists in Hamas, the actual terrorists across the Middle East. That's what they're bringing here. They're not doing anything to criticize the government. They're not doing anything to advance peace. They're simply picking up this mantle of terror and using it to go after Jews and commit violent acts and murder against them.
All right, Ted Deutsch, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thanks very much for having me.